Hi, I'm John Disterdick with Automated Rubber Recycling. We want to take a few minutes to show you a process that we think can dramatically change the concept of creating crumb rubber from used tires. What we have here is a process that utilizes a solution. And when the chips come into this process, typically they're 2-inch, maybe 3, 4, 5-inch chips that can go into our solution. After they've soaked for approximately 6 hours, it could be plus or minus based on certain changes that might be made. We can take those chips out and have the ability to pull these apart by hand. I can actually take this tire and pull it apart. Obviously, this is tremendously reduces the machinery and the horsepower required to create crumb rubber, which is part of the expense. The metal falls right out. The metal falls out into the same length, 2-3 inch lengths. It makes it easier to get out the metal. But just the process of using my own, just pulling it apart by hand, and we have a window in which we can do this before the rubber returns to being hard again, which it does. It returns to the same hardness after about being out of the solution for about 8 to 10 hours. I can take some of these chips that have been soaked and put them in here in just a meat grinder here, a standard meat grinder, and just turn it by hand and create crumb rubber. As you can see, the crumb and the metal, the nylon can be separated easy as it comes out in longer pieces as opposed to being into real small chips. This is crumb rubber that we've just made by hand. These are other grades of crumb rubber that have been created just by screening and running it through several more times. And this crumb rubber has been tested by various companies across the country and has so far passed all the tests for being used in most applications. Here's samples of the metal. It's easier to separate because they're in 2 or 3 inch lengths. And the nylon, it isn't all crushed down into small little particles. This can be an extruding process that we believe would help in this whole automated rubber recycling process. And what I'd like to do is show you a possible layout of a plant next. This is one sample of a potential plant where we show the whole tires coming in and the tires being debeaded and then going through a process of reducing it down to whatever size chips before they're soaked. One of the opportunities here is the fact that the bead can be saved, and we can actually take the rubber off the bead, which potentially has some significant value because of the expense and the technology that goes into the bead for a tire. Most of the other systems have to completely destroy the bead. But once it goes through our process, we can go through an extruder that we think is appropriate to create the crumb rubber, or some of the standard ambient grinders. We eliminate the whole cryogenics problem, the expense, the liquid nitrogen, by utilizing a plant such as this. If those of you that have been in the crumb rubber business are probably familiar with Robert Snyder and the studies that he has done. Bob Snyder has been here. He could not believe that you could actually take a tire and pull it apart by hand. So he came out from Detroit and did it himself. So we know that we have a process here that can drastically reduce the cost of producing crumb rubber. We've done some figures and some analysis that show that we can probably, in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 cents a pound, reduce the cost of producing crumb rubber from the standard ambient grinding or cryogenics. We'll look forward to talking to you and explaining more in detail about our company and the process. If you have an interest, you can call us at the number that's at the end of this tape.